Gentlemen, welcome to the P.A.M. podcast. I am your host, Greg Denning. I'm the creator and coach inside the P.A.M. Masterclass and Tribe. And the reason we have this podcast, the reason I have that community of men, is to help men be our very best selves all around this holistic optimization or whole life optimization. So we are the best husbands and fathers and businessmen and leaders and men that we can be ready and prepared to help out in any and all situations, whether they're man-made problems or natural disasters or just life, that we're ready to be men when it's needed. So glad you're here, brother. I appreciate you. And if you're ready to dive in, be a part of this community and give back to another group of men and be a part of a group of men who are chasing greatness and committed to living deliberately, looking at it, man, join it. We'd love to have you be a part of the community. All right, today's guest is Erin Alejandrino, and he's known on Instagram as the Fit Beard. He's a co-founder of the MDK project with Bedros and the Apogee. He's a coach at the Apogee program, and he's just ripped, right, in fantastic shape, and all around just a genuinely great guy. And today we talk about a lot of great things, a lot of great principles for life. Number one, getting in fantastic shape, how to just get shredded, and the little nuggets there, man. And it's usually like there's some general things we all know, but then there's some specifics, and he shares some just golden nuggets here that are super impactful and helpful. We talk about commitment and what it takes to win. We talk about having the white belt mindset and gaining skills. We talk about his guy named P.A.M, right? He calls him P.A.M, the passive aggressive man. And we walk through that and what's going on, what we're seeing with men today, and why that's happening and the effect it has on our lives. And then we talk about what it means to stay on the mat and level up and show up and look the part and be the man. I know you're going to love this episode, gentlemen. Let's dive in. Erin, man, thanks for being here. I'm really excited to learn about P.A.M. We see P.A.M right there in your background. We're going to talk about P.A.M today and all kinds of awesomeness. So why don't you start out, give us a little bit of background, man. How'd you get to where you are?
Yeah, man. Greg, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. My name is Erin Alejandrino, and I am a men's lifestyle and fitness coach. I've been in the personal development fitness space for about 2 decades, and I've had the greatest opportunity in the last 4 years to work alongside some titans in the industry. Bedros Keuilian, Ray Cashcare, Steve Eckhart Marine, and Matt Schneider. And we've run a program called The Project. That's the shirt is, the MDK Project. That's a passion project where we help men break through their passivity really at the end of the day. And it's a brotherhood we've created. It's a 75-hour in-person immersive experience. It's
nice.
It's nasty, man. It is so nasty. I see these guys go through. We've done 14 classes now. And
how many do you do a year? Like, how often is this happening?
Oh man, we're doing about 4 a year.
Okay.
We're trying to get to the point where we can do it 1 every other month, so we get to 6 and down on the calendar. Yeah, it's exhausting because they don't sleep, we don't sleep.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, we're in it.
75 hours of on.
Yes, full on, man. My nervous system is like just tapped to next level coming out of it. I always feel bad for the people around. My lady experienced post-project mode after last time.
Exactly, because then this crash.
Yeah, it's a full-on adrenaline, right? You're in this like hyped up state, confrontational state to really create an impactful moment for these guys. And yeah, it's hard to turn it down. It really is. Yeah.
So true.
But it's exciting. From the project, we birthed another program called the Squire program. This is a father and son rite of passage. We do this. It's a 12-hour period. We take these guys, these young men and their fathers through a bunch of challenges. They do the ice bath. They do a challenging obstacle course, and it allows them to build a closer bond. And from that program, we all do our own independent coaching. And then my coaching specifically, I work with, I call him P.A.M. He's the passive aggressive man. This is the guy that's passive with his hopes, his dreams, his desires, passive with women working the world of men. And we lean into assertive, disciplined, directed action so he can start getting the life he wants. And we were just talking right before we got on is, it really comes down to having a really clear vision.
Yes.
And most guys are, living accidentally, and they're wondering why they don't have the results they want in their life. Yeah, so
So true. And they're just
that,
wandering around, getting blown about,
mm-hmm.
hoping things work out. And we all know
Hoping.
hope is not a strategy.
Hope
And
is a stripper's name, as my good friend Byron has said. Hope is a stripper's name. It is not a strategy for
uh,
fitness, nutrition, mindset, or the life that you want.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It won't get you the results you're after. Oh, good.
Yeah.
We'll dive in deeper to that. So, like, what were you doing? Just I'm curious, what were you doing before all this? What were you doing the last, before you got
Yeah.
into the project and the coaching, all that stuff?
Great question, man. I was in fitness and coaching. So I owned a gym in Scottsdale about 4 years ago. I ran that for
Nice.
about 4 years. Brick and mortar location. It was an MMA gym. We did jujitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, and
Yeah.
fitness training. It was awesome. It was my playground. I love to go back and have a gym again. That was one of my biggest entrepreneurial ventures. We had it was killer. It was killer. But I learned everything not to do in running a business, running
Yes.
that business, and
Well, that's how you have to start, right? You have to
uh-huh.
get in and
Yeah.
figure out what not to do before you can figure
Yep.
out what to do. Oh, I love
Yep.
it.
Yeah. And then after that, and before that, I was personal training, group fitness coaching, some form of fitness for about the last 15 years.
Sweet.
And after closing the gym, I was really looking around for mentoring and leadership. And I knew that this next chapter of life, I had to surround myself with a badass, someone that
Yep.
could be a mentor and guide me. And so I had an opportunity to launch a supplement company with Bedros Keuilian. And this guy is just, if you guys don't know who he is, he's a gangster in the space, growing and building businesses. So he hired me, flew me out from Arizona and California to launch a supplement company. And that was going to be my day job. And then with a couple months of us just working on this new business, and we developed a friendship. We were in the gym working out. And for some reason, I always take conversations really deep. And so we might go deep on this conversation. I
Good.
hope you help mind that. But we were in the gym working out, and I said, the reason I was willing to leave Arizona, come out here, is not necessarily for the opportunity in business, but it's because you shared something publicly on stage that really inspired me. And I wanted to be around that. And he
Yes.
shared that he was molested when he was as a young man. And I said, that's a tough thing for guys to talk about, but the same thing happened to me. And I want to learn how to turn that suffering into a superpower. And that conversation in the gym turned into, if you've done this level of personal development, and I've done this level of personal development, and we can now talk about the worst thing that ever happened to us, and it's been the
Yes.
catalyst for positive change.
Yes.
How do we help other men do that? And that first conversation was literally the start of the project. So they're like, well, we got to create a format where guys feel comfortable and safe to talk about their pain, their trauma, their triggers, all the shit that happens to us that no one ever want to talk about. We stick in a box. And so we started to map this out. And then the right people were already in his ecosystem: a Navy SEAL, a Marine, a SWAT operator, all came together. We realized every one of us had a fucked up upbringing, but we've done something with it. And we're able to take these experiences and turn this suffering into a superpower. And the project was born. And within a few months after that, we did class 1. And so we've done now 14 classes. We got class 15 coming up next month. And
Amazing.
we had no idea how much it would become this fulfilling life mission. Since then, I've left the supplement company. He's got another leader in charge there. But I was like, I want to go all in on this men's personal development thing. And so we launched a fitness program from it. We launched the father and son thing. I've got my own coaching, but it's all focused on helping men.
Yes, I love it. Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. There's so much in there I want to circle back to. Let's go into this bringing up the pain,
Mm.
processing it, and then turning suffering into superpower. I think one of the things, because I had a rough go to early on, right? Ended up out on my own at 16, just trying to figure things out. It was tough. And I think one of the things that was a key ingredient, because I'm with you guys, like I can look back now and I can share my story and say, like, I'm actually like, that thing gave me power.
Hell
Right.
yes. Yeah.
But for some, it like takes away their power.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. Like, it's so hard. It is suffering. It is pain.
Yeah.
But at some point, if I, again, this is just my perspective here. I think we have to see the benefit, see how we can be
Yes.
better because of it. And
We
when we
have to
start to,
reframe it.
yes, when we
Yeah.
reframe it to say, hey, this is something that can make me better,
Mm-hmm.
that's when we get power back.
Absolutely. And it's the only time we get power back, because we can't change the past, but we can change our perspective around the past and realize
Exactly.
that was given to me. And I believe that all of our misery ends up becoming our ministry if we can truly, truly
Yes.
leverage that, leverage our own perspective and turn it into something where it's not suffering, it's now service. How can I take this
Exactly.
thing that happened to me and share it with somebody else? Because it's not for you, it's for everybody else. And
Yep.
so the more that I talk about, the more the Bedros have talked about, and Ray and Steve and Matt, we've talked about our pain, the more people in the audience are like, oh my God, that happened to
Yeah.
me, or something similar
Yep.
happened to me. And the truth of the matter is, statistically, 1 in 4 people have been molested. 2 out of 3 people have experienced physical, mental, or emotional abuse. We know 50% of families have gone through divorce. That means 100% of us are fucked up.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Everybody's got something.
Yep.
And the sooner this is what I was saying. You said it the same way. Like, you can't change the past, but you can, at any point when you choose, you can change the way you see the past.
Yes.
And I've
Yes.
gotten to this place now where I can look back and with sincerity be like, that was horrible. Like, it was so hard, but I'm actually glad I went through it,
Bless.
because it was a catalyst for growth for me.
Yeah.
Like, it made me hungry. And
Truth.
I got this desperation, like, I will find answers to becoming a whole man.
Yes.
Where, you wonder, had I not had that, would I maybe not had the hunger, maybe just kind of floating around like a lot of guys you talk about, the passive dudes, like things that we're supposed to, that are the most meaningful things. We're kind of passive about that. And then we're super passionate about things that don't matter.
Yes,
Right?
truth. Yeah, because we're all trying to find meaning, right? We're all trying to find meaning. I believe that God put this meaning-sized hole inside the middle of our bodies and hearts, and we searched, and we'll make more money. We'll get a bigger house, a faster car. We'll pursue more women, but it doesn't fill this empty void that we've got inside until we really uncover our purpose. And I believe our purpose, God's got that thumbprint on our purpose, and the purpose is only really uncovered from our pain, what makes us passionate, and that area of play that comes together. Those 3 P's triangulate into the purpose.
Beautiful.
But we got to go into the pain first, right? We got to go into that thing that we're afraid to go to. And most guys, they're like, man, I want to avoid this. I'm going to stick it in a box. I hope I never have to talk about my feelings ever. And I think it's never going to cause an issue. But they wonder why. Why does addiction through the roof? Why do they have all these vices? Why are they constantly distracted? It's because they're not going deep into the work they really need to do.
Yep, exactly. So the pain, trying to hide it in some distant corner of the heart or soul, it stays there and it festers, and it becomes
Cancer.
a super preventative, like, limiter inside of us. You're absolutely right. So, man, why are you, because you get to work with guys all the time, as I do. Why do you think they're avoiding the pain? Why not face it?
Oh man, that's an age-old question. Why not face the pain? Well, it's uncomfortable. I think that it's uncomfortable, and as men, we're not equipped with the tools. When I think about all the emotional vocabulary that I had for the longest time, it was irritation, frustration, and anger. Those are the only emotions I knew. I was either irritated, or like that was low level, I could deal with that. I was frustrated, which I would deal with, or I was angry, and that would go into maybe rage or like something else. But it was that was the spectrum, because I never saw modeled anything else. My father figures, my dad is a deadbeat. My second father figure was a drug addict, died at the needle in his arm. Third father figure was had another family on the other side of the country, like just complete lie through the marriage that was with my mom. And I don't blame any of them, but at the end, they didn't model what it meant to have a healthy emotional range. And so for the longest time, I just pointed the finger. I just pointed the finger. I was like, well, if everyone else is like that and I can't trust them, I can't trust myself. And I guess I just have to be angry, frustrated, irritated, and full of rage. And so when we talk about what is really necessary to go into that pit where the pain lives, you have to have empathy and compassion, and you have to be willing to feel grief and sadness and sorrow and all the other emotions that come with working through trauma. And that's new. And most guys don't like to do things that are uncomfortable or new. And so they avoid that. Anytime the feelings come up, they sedate, castrate. And the next thing they know, 20, 30 years have gone by, and they've either burned their business down to the ground, they burn their body down to the ground. And next thing they're facing,
the marriage, the parenting, the relationships, they all get the anger and the frustration and the irritation.
Yep.
And it all plays out, man.
Yeah.
And so you're right. And I love that you're emphasizing here, like, you have to go in and feel it all. It's not numbing. It's not avoiding. It's not being Mr. Tough Guy. I don't feel anything. It's feeling it, man.
Yeah, and that's when we talk about our feelings as men, that is one area that I think makes so many guys uncomfortable. And that's why we don't lead with that when we talk about the marketing for the project or Squire. They see the Navy SEAL, they see the gun, they see all the cool guy stuff,
It's
right?
gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. I'm gonna go do some dude stuff and develop a brotherhood. And like that's necessary. Like we need that confrontation, conflict, and we need that as men. But the heart of really what we do, it brings them to a conversation that we have where they're able to get the worst thing off their chest and talk about it and then share it in a room. And a lot of these guys, it's the first time they share it. And just in doing that, they're like, oh my God, this thing that I was afraid to talk about my entire life that had all this shame and guilt and fear around. Now that I share it inside of a space where I've created this relationship with other guys,
Yep.
it's not so bad.
Yep.
And then as soon as they articulate it, they got to change the story behind it. And we got to guide them through, okay, now that horrible thing happened. I'm sorry for you. I'm there for you as a friend and a brother, but that was a gift so that you can use that to be a hero for somebody else.
Yep. Amen. That's so powerful. Man, there's cool pieces of the formula and the recipe there. And one of them is doing really hard things in like a brotherhood, like just facing those physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, social challenges. That it kind of unlocks something and gives you that space where then you're like, okay, I can bring this up and let's address it.
Yep. Yeah.
It's such an important part of transformation.
100%. Like we as men, we know that we don't want to deal with something until the conflict is so big. And so we need conflict, confrontation. We need the competition of healthy men. We need that community so that we really feel and build the trust. And that gives us the courage to make changes. So the whole formula is there, but like we got to get into the ring first and have that first hit. And sometimes that first hit is the world. It's the bankruptcy. It's the diabetes. It's the divorce. It's something that catches the guy's attention. But whatever it is, you have to manufacture that hard thing. And that's what the project does. That's what the Squire program does. That's what the coaching does. And that's what fitness does. So fitness manufactures the hard thing so that you realize that I'm built for so much more. I got more gas in the tank. I'm good. I can handle this. And I have the courage to face that demon that I've been avoiding, that dragon, bitch slap that motherfucker. And excuse my language.
Well, no, but you're intentionally, and again, like life will do it to you if you don't, I found, but if you're choosing challenge and I like to call it micro dosing and macro dosing. So micro dosing is the exercising. So it's today in the gym, when you don't feel like doing it, you push hard. That's a micro dose. A macro dose is like, forget this. Like, I'm going to go jump out of an airplane somewhere in some foreign country and like do big pattern interrupt, big challenge, go climb a huge mountain, right? I love big, big mountains. When you're trying to break 19,000 feet and you just feel like crap, you just feel like dying and taking baby steps, you're just nauseated, you have vertigo, man, you find out what you're made of, right?
Yeah.
That's a challenge you choose, but you're right. And then you get that strength. So, okay, where's the dragon? Where's the monster? Like, let's go.
Yes.
And let's tackle this stuff. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Fired up.
Let's shift to, because you mentioned it. Let's go into fitness next. And again, this is a huge industry, a huge world. There's tons out there, but maybe a couple of things you've learned just about getting just shredded, man. Getting lean, ripped, getting that last little bit. Because I know there's guys, they'll go out, they'll lift weights, so they'll do their cardio, they'll eat well and stuff. But how do you get that last little bit of?
Yeah, well, you got to want it first off, like anything else. You got to want it. And I tell all the guys, and I almost try to deter people from it. Having a six pack and maintaining a six pack, it's not easy. It's not easy. Like, you got to actually want it. And the reason I wanted it is I wanted to feel confident about the decisions I made yesterday. So when I take off my shirt and I look in the mirror, I see somebody that, even though he wants to eat like an asshole, and there was a period of time when I could eat like that and just crush the calories, and I was like, I'm just going to run and work it off. I know that the long-term foundation of what I'm looking at in the mirror is because I made good decisions yesterday. And so it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder. So first, you got
life is lived on a lag, right? It's the decisions we made yesterday, a few days ago, that show up in your body or show up in your life. So
or your bank account, 100%. Yes. Yeah. And so you see the results and you realize this is from what I did yesterday when I didn't feel like doing it, or last week. And same thing in your relationship, right? So the positivity, the benefits you're seeing is all because of the deposits made yesterday. And so I wanted it. I wanted that. I wanted to be able to wake up in the morning and look in the mirror because for a long time I didn't. I didn't like who I was. I was the 130-pound soaking wet skinny guy. And so I was like, you know what? My first transformation, I want to put on size. And so I went down that route. And I got from 135 to 215. And I did like the
Hold up.
bodybuilder bulk.
You went to 215?
Yeah, bro. It was
Dude.
there was one phase when it was like it was cool. And then I took it down and then I got into a darker phase where I went from fit beard to fat beard. And then the 215 went to like a 205, very sloshy and sloppy. And so I've done the skinny to fat to fit and all of it. So I've been
Oh
in
my
all
God.
spectrums.
That's a huge range, man.
Uh-huh.
That's what, 80 pounds.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. Oh my gosh. Where are you at now?
175. 170.
175.
Yeah,
And
175.
lean.
Yeah, 8.5, 9% body fat year round. Comfortable there. I like it there. I can manage my calories there. I can still enjoy life there.
Yeah.
I actually had pizza last night. I had a cornmeal pizza. It was awesome.
Nice.
But yeah, it's not the normal. But yeah, I think what pushes you over the edge is you got to make a commitment at a certain time. And so when I first did the jump from 135 and I wanted to pack on the size, I hired a bodybuilding coach. I said, I don't know anything in this area, so I need a mentor and I need accountability. I'm going to pay for the investment. I'm going to prepay in advance because these are the results that I want. I'm going to have you hold me accountable. And I did the white belt mindset, which I've been as a white belt so many times in my life. It says, just tell me what to do. I want to pretend I know nothing. And so for 18 months, we hit the weights. I tracked my macros for 12 months straight. I weighed everything that went in my mouth. I tracked everything that went in my body. And for 12 months, I was disciplined with that. I brought my food scale ever. I go out to eat, put the protein on the scale, weighed it out, and followed the program for 12 months. And then I got these skills by learning from a mentor and then was able to
Yes.
apply it and mold it into my lifestyle. And so I think that, what gets you there is get accountability, pay for the results you want because we pay attention to what we pay for. I think the reason why so many guys struggle with burning fat, building muscle is they follow someone's YouTube plan or a $19 cookie cutter program, or they're not really that committed. I think pay for it and you're like, you know what, now I have one other social pressure to do it.
Yep.
Then it was the matter of I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell people that I'm going to do this. And I started posting it. It's crazy. As soon as I started posting it on social media, people were encouraging me, but then now I had extra layer of social accountability.
Nice.
And so I think that's one area that guys also need to leverage and lean into. If you want to get ripped and shredded, set a photo shoot 6 months down the road. Tell all your friends, your family, followers, and say, if I don't
Yes.
make this happen, then I'm going to donate to charity. I'll be your slave for a week. Like put some pressure on yourself.
Get a lot more skin in the game.
Yeah.
You did that. Just three things right away is like, one, put some money on the table, two, get a coach you're accountable to, and three, get social accountability. I mean, and then you can go on and on from that, right? And leveraging it.
Yeah.
So give us some of the, I mean, because I've read tons of stuff. I've done all that. Like, ultimately, what has worked best for you to maintain that body fat percentage and just kind of stay in a good spot?
Honestly, right now, my biggest cheat code for staying fit, because we know the abs are made in the kitchen. I'm dating a nutritionist. Like that is the biggest hack.
Nice.
That is, yeah. I thought I ate relatively well until Rachel moved in. Rachel shares she's got a functional nutrition practice, and she's not wired like me. She can have a piece of chocolate from a chocolate bar, and then the rest of the chocolate bar will last in the fridge for weeks. I'm thinking the whole time, it's like there's still another.
Yeah, I gotta get some more
bar.
chocolate.
I gotta get the chocolate bar. Yeah, so she has been teaching me how to better moderate my food and to manage that side of it. But because abs really are made in the kitchen, body fat is managed in the kitchen. Prior to her and that dynamic of the relationship and having that extra accountability at home, again, it's so much easier when your person's on board with you.
Yep.
It was tracking my food. Tracking my food was the biggest needle mover to realizing how much I was eating subconsciously. So every time I ate, I had to put it in my app, and MyFitnessPal is a free app for anyone that's listening or watching.
Nice.
That game changer. And then
so was it more focused on limiting calories or percentages of proteins, carbohydrates? Like, give us an idea of what you're eating.
Yeah. So right now in this season where I'm in, I do really well with high protein, high fat. And so the most part, I'm under 100 grams of carbohydrates, and I have those typically at the end of the day, unless it's a high carb day or I've got a big run. For the most part, I go high protein, high fat. I'll have my first meal around 11 o'clock. It's looking like 6 whole eggs over easy, and then some protein source. A little butter in my coffee in the morning. Afternoon meal is going to look like something like that. Maybe some arugula, some protein, some fat. And in the evening, I'm having a carbohydrate with my protein. So 3 meals a day, maybe one snack, one
Nice.
protein shake. And that just does well for me because I notice as soon as I start deviating from that, my performance is down. And I paid enough attention to how my performance, not only from the physical side, but from a conversation standpoint. We've all had that afternoon fog
Yep.
from too many carbs, or like we're exhausted and fatigued. Carbohydrates, as much as they build muscle, they make your brain not function as well. We wonder why we're exhausted on Thanksgiving from overeating, over consuming. It's the excess amount of food where our body's trying to break it down. So I really like to limit my food during the period when I'm doing the most amount of work. So high output days, when I got podcasts, conversations, client calls, I'm typically doing relatively fasted or protein fats only, and I don't introduce carbs until the end of the day.
Beautiful. And the fats, man, the fats matter so much. What's your favorite protein source?
Steak.
Yeah, me too, bro.
Steak. Yeah, red meat.
We just had some today to celebrate my daughter's birthday. I'm like, breakfast,
Awesome.
steaks and eggs, baby.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
Yeah, man.
I love it, man. That's awesome. Yeah. And then like I know you're lifting weights, you're doing all kinds of stuff. Do you do a lot of cardio as well? Do you like that, or you're just?
I do. I fell in love with running about 3 years ago. So I ran my first marathon. Bedros inspired me. He's a big 250-pound gorilla, and he's like, I ran a marathon in 6 weeks. I was like, no fucking way. If he can run a marathon, I can run a marathon.
250.
He's a big dude. Yeah. And I was like, I've always wanted to, I've always hated running actually, but I've always wanted to be able to run a marathon. So I trained for one. I ran one New Year's Day, 2020. And I fell in love with the process. And so I hit 15, 20 miles a week.
That's great.
With the dog. It also keeps the dog in a better state. I got a full-size German Shepherd, so he needs the exercise. But yeah, so I do that from a cardio side, and then weights, I'm hitting probably 2 or 3 really heavy lift sessions, and then I call them micro workouts. I like to do 20-minute pumps twice a day. Like that's ideal workout day for me. Not over exhausting the nervous system, not breaking the body down too much, but getting enough of a testosterone pump, a blood pump, where I can get back into the work day and I feel good.
Dude, that's awesome. And like a full body thing is some kettlebells or stuff, or like a specific muscle group?
Full body. Yeah. Something full body, squat thrusters, jump squats, maybe a couple sprints up and down, but full body, full dynamic, always a little bit of biceps because you got to throw them in there as a dude.
And 20 minutes, just crank it up and then get back into it. So it's an energy pump.
100%. Midday.
I love that, Aaron. I love that, man. That's a cool thing. And then again, it's time, right? So we're all busy. We got businesses going. We have families. We got all these things to do. But you throw that in there, you can make that fit.
100%. Yeah. And people are always saying, I don't have time to work out. And it's like, you don't not have time to work out. Exactly. Because the clarity, the energy, the boost in testosterone, the confidence, as any high performer out there, if you take pride in your business, the thing that you do, your physicality is your philosophy. So you want to do better in your business, you better make your body ripped.
And it's your billboard, man.
Truth. 100%.
So powerful. Oh, that's good. Thanks, brother. Love that. Let's switch to P.A.M. Tell us about P.A.M.
I love it. So I was at this high performance summit that Bedros Keuilian and another mentor, Wes Watson, were putting on a couple of months ago, and I was sitting in the audience, and something clicked. And I've heard this before dozens of times. In fact, we talked about it on this call. Your pain is what you need to guide people through. And I was sitting there, I was like, man, I've guided people through, the ability to be able to converse and talk about their problems, their trauma, being raised by a single mom and abusive father figures. And I was like, but there's got to be something else. And I was just sitting there, I was like, what is the one thing that I've done the most of in the last 4 years has created the most positive results? I was like, taking action, taking action. I was like, well, what's the opposite of taking action? Like passive. I was like, man, have I ever been passive? And I was like, God, I can't even tell you how many times I've been passive. So many areas in life have been passive with approaching a woman, passive with really what I want and needs. And it just blew into like this little idea. I don't know how to describe it. There's an idea brainstorm that happened right in the middle of the audience. So I like to say there was a divine intervention.
Beautiful.
And then the acronym of P.A.M. came up. P.A.M. I was like, God, that is a horrible name. P.A.M.
This is perfect though, man.
It's like so good.
Demasculated, dude. This is perfect.
Yeah. P.A.M. is the passive aggressive man, and he is passive with everything he wants. And man, it brought me back to this image that I had during my fraternity days and in college. I was 20 something, drinking and partying. And I had this creepy handlebar mustache and these chops. And I just had this picture of sunglasses on. I was so faded. I had a handle of Jim Beam in my board shorts. And there's just like a flabby gut. And I was like, oh my God, that was P.A.M. And I remember two girls that I was interested in at the time, but I didn't have the balls to actually ask them out. And so I was like friend zoning both of them. And this is like the gray zone. This is the horrible spot for men to be in, where he's got a desire for someone, but he doesn't know how to actually approach and be intentional. And so he's like, you know what? I'm going to beg for scraps. I'm going to be okay with your scraps. I'm just going to be your friend, listen to your feelings and emotions, and maybe walk your dog, check your mail, all that stuff. But I'm never actually be assertive. And I had these two girls I was interested in. They both had friend zoned me. And I was like, P.A.M., fuck, P.A.M., I never want to go back to that place. I was like, I know I'm not alone because I've coached so many guys out of this form of passivity to start expressing their needs. And so, yeah, that was a download. It wasn't that long ago. And I just started talking about it on social media. And it was a shocking number of men that raised their hand and reached out and said, I identify as P.A.M. and I want to break through, break out and rebuild. And so it's been taking, again, my suffering, my story, and sharing with those and walking through the process. And the process of breaking through the P.A.M. problem. P.A.M.'s passive with everything is action, but action without a vision or a plan is dangerous. Yep. And so many guys are like, I'm just going to start taking action. So we take action by a very clear vision. The vision is a blueprint. And I did this exercise about 7 years ago. I hired a coach and he's like, what do you want? And I was like, I want this, this, and this. He's like, well, how much? By when? What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? And he had me do this exercise where I wrote out my vision. It was future pace, 5 years down the road. And it took a lot. It took a lot for me to actually think that far because I didn't believe it was possible. But he worked with me and coached me and says, all right, from there, we're going to derive your values. We're going to create your non-negotiables, morning routine, daily action plan. And that exercise was pivotal because now when I wake up in the morning before my alarm clock in a highly energized state, I spend my day in creative collaboration with men on a mission to change the world. That vision came to life and it was written almost a decade ago.
I love that.
Whoa, that's where we are now.
Awesome. Man, I want to, something you said there just clicked so well. It's like they have a desire for someone or something, but they're willing to take the scraps. They're willing to settle for less. They're willing to acquiesce. It could be wealth. It could be a desire to be just an absolute master in your craft.
Yes.
It could be to be like super fit or just have an extraordinary marriage or a great relationship with your kids or impact in the world. And we approach it, and I think you're spot on with this. We approach it, but stop short of it.
Yes.
And say, man, it's almost a good enough attitude, right?
Yes. Or waiting, or we're waiting for the right opportunity rather than creating it. And I like to use this analogy. I don't know what your religious or spiritual background is, but most people have heard the story of Adam and Eve. Like from both Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. So God created man, and from man he created woman. And in the beginning, there was this Garden of Eden where everything was perfect. Everything was perfect. And God was like, you can have whatever you want. You got dominion over all the animals, all the earth, and I've given you this beautiful garden. There's only one thing that you should not do to be in obedience with me, and that is to not eat from this tree. The tree had apples on it. And every story has got a good guy and a bad guy, and the bad guy in the story is the slippery snake. And so he tempts Eve with the forbidden fruit and says, Eve, you should just take a bite of this apple, right? And so as the story goes, Eve takes a bite of the apple. But you got to wonder, because there's no other women around, what the fuck was Adam doing? He was standing passively by, not taking action, not speaking up, not stepping up, not standing out, not slapping that apple out of Eve's hand and saying, hey, listen, we have perfection. How many times in life have men sat there and stood on the sidelines waiting for somebody else to do the job they should be doing? And that's it. So many guys will point the finger and say, you know what, here's what's wrong with the world. Here's what's wrong with our politicians. Here's what's wrong with our government. Here's what's wrong with you. But rather than actually doing the active, assertive, disciplined, dedicated thing, like stepping out, standing up, and showing up, they stand passively by. So it's hardwired in our biology, I believe, to be passive. It's the high value man that says, you know what, I'm sick and tired of seeing the world around me, the beautiful garden that there is, all the possibility, just turn into hell. And I'm going to do something about it.
I'm just sitting here watching. You're so right. That's another element of passivity where you're just watching your own life It's like
Turn into hell.
you're in the bleachers and you're letting it happen, like, and complaining about it.
Yes.
This is terrible. This sucks. You're like,
Uh-huh.
dude, what are you doing about it? I
Yes.
think because I don't know, we tell ourselves stories, we feel like we don't have as
Power.
much power
Yeah.
as we really do. And I remember experiencing that. Maybe you did too.
Oh yeah.
I remember being that spot of victimhood where I was like, dude, God, what can I do? This situation sucks. The economy, whatever.
These are the cards that I've been dealt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
100%.
But overcoming that passivity is to get into that real. Well, it's ownership
Mm-hmm.
and it's action.
Mm-hmm.
So
And even back before that, it's knowing the direction you're moving in. It's a clear vision. Your
yes,
post today was spot on. You got to have a direction you're moving. You have the clarity of your vision. What does the next 2 years look like for you? What do you really want? And what are you willing to do? What kind of work are you willing to dive into? Who are you willing to become? And how are you willing to stretch? So as an example of this, I've been leaning into stretches for now the last 7 years because I want to develop this ideal of who I know I need to become for this life that I want down the road. I want a great life. I want it all. I want the woman and the work and the respect from both men. So I have to be able to build new skills. This about 3 Saturdays ago, I stood on stage in front of 80 people and delivered a 20-minute comedy set. And it was my first time doing,
what?
stand-up comedy.
What?
It
Yeah,
was,
dude.
yeah, and it was a stretch, man. It was stressful as hell. I there was moments where I was like, I'm gonna freeze, I'm gonna forget it. All the toxic thought comes up. I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
People are not gonna think I'm funny. But that stretch proves to me, that I can do anything I set my mind to first and foremost. But it also adds to the skills for the vision that I want.
Right.
I have a vision of inspiring other men that they can do anything they want. So I have to lead first. I have to do things that are scary and terrifying.
And
Running
get
a
out of the
marathon.
comfort zone, man. I can't think of
Yes.
either that or singing on stage, bro.
Oh,
Just
oh,
whoa, all right.
yeah.
Just get uncomfortable and choose the
Uh-huh.
challenge. Like get in front of it. I love that, man.
100%. Yeah.
That
I
is
won't I
awesome.
won't I won't ever subjugate anyone to singing on stage. That might cause a lot more trauma out there in the world than actually
Uh,
serve me.
um, one thought I had while you were talking about the vision, I wonder how often passivity is a symptom of
Mm,
a lack of clarity
mm,
because we haven't done the mental work and the soul work to decide exactly where we want to go.
mm.
So therefore we don't take deliberate action.
Yeah,
And
and
we
it's
just
a
kind
it's
of
a
drifting
vicious
along.
loop, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like the chicken and egg. Which comes first, the lack of vision or the excess of passivity?
Yeah.
And you can't have. I mean, they coexist. They really
Yep.
do coexist because once you've got a vision and you know the things you should be doing, and you choose not to, you're just ignoring it. Like it's your fault. You're in the
Yeah.
situation you're in.
Yeah. You got to own that.
Mm-hmm.
So before the recording, you and I were talking just about kind of the state of the world. There's and the state of the country and the economy. We're in a social and economic winter, and things are
Mm-hmm.
chaotic and crazy. And one thing, let's talk about this for a second. Is like how do we stay in a good headspace and stay active, involved, and I guess active, right? Instead of becoming passive, like, oh, the world's falling apart, everything's going to hell, like, oh, there's no hope. Like, what do you think? Let's have a little conversation about that because it's been on my mind a lot lately. People see the clouds in the distance. They see,
Mm-hmm.
the news are talking about, all this trouble. And I think a lot of men, well, like it says in the Bible, their hearts will fail them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's gonna be hard for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and yet we have to stay in the game
Yeah.
mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially,
Mm-hmm.
financially,
Physically.
physically. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know that I have the full answer for it. And this just came to me is I there was a season when I was practicing yoga quite a bit. I remember a yoga instructor saying, "Stay on your mat, stay on your mat, stay on your mat," and that was almost like the mantra, like "Stay on your mat."
Yeah.
And what the instructor was saying by that is, don't worry about whatever else is doing around the room. Perfect your form on your mat. And when you stay on your mat and you make your frame, your body, your build the best that you can, not only from a physical standpoint, but remember, again, as men, our physicality is our philosophy. So if we want to talk about honor and respect and loyalty and perseverance and strength, we have to show up. We got to look that part. And so staying on your mat for me means before we can point the finger anywhere else, we got to do that deep dive and look at ourselves. How are we representing the values that we think that we want the rest of the world to have?
Yeah.
And so I think that's the first fight. That's the first battle. That's the first area we got to focus on is our spiritual, mental, physical, financial strength and be the best examples of it at our house first, at our home first. Good calibration point. I have all the guys I coach with. I say, if you're unsure of where your weaknesses are, ask your family.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Ask your wife and your kids where you could show up more. And they're like,
Humbly keep your
fuck,
mouth shut and just
yeah,
listen.
yeah, I don't want to go there.
Yep.
I don't want to go there. And then it's like, okay, cool. After you tackle that and you've received the truth of how you're showing up in the world, now go to your employees and your team and ask them how you show up. Most men avoid that conflict and that
Absolutely.
feedback, and they wonder why they don't have the results they want.
Yep. And if you're willing to look in the mirror that other people will hold up for you and then do something about it, it's a game changer. And I really like what you're saying, Aaron, about, and that I love the idea of staying on the mat, right? It's like you do you. One thing I like to think about is like, we don't have to worry so much about the economy as we do about our economy.
Yes.
You take care of your economy
Uh-huh.
and let the economy do its thing. And
Yes.
we often get worried about what's happening in the world. Well, you take care of your world. You were just saying that, you take care of you at home and you make sure your marriage and your family and your house and your business is in tip-top condition. Your body is in tip-top condition. And then if nothing else, you'll be that much more prepared for whatever happens to come along.
Yeah. And you have a clear lens to hold everyone else accountable to. And I think the problem that we're really facing is that we're pointing the finger outward, looking for someone else to come up with a better plan than our own. Yeah. And unless you are modeling what you want to have, how can you ever expect for it to be right? And it just creates this perpetual cycle of criticism, judgment, and blame and frustration because we're choosing not to do the most active thing, which is to master our own lives.
Exactly. Well, I think I might know your answer here, but what would you say is if you were to prioritize it and start mastering your own life, right, getting things in order, where would you say men should start?
Oh man, I think you think I'm gonna say fitness.
I did. I was like, he's gonna say the body, but okay. So surprise me. What would you say first?
Honestly, brother, I think it's faith. I think faith is first. Faith is first. I think so many guys are looking for the gurus and the guides and the teachers and the next plan and the next mentor and all that. And that's a great place to start. But you need to learn to trust the voice inside first. And the only way that we do that is building a relationship with our higher power as we know him. Whatever your spiritual practice is, whatever you want to start beginning that with, like he's listening, and he will speak to you through whatever modality, religion, or practice suits you at your time and your journey. But build that foundation of faith first, then fitness. Fitness is the next. Fitness is you got to build your temple. You got to build your body. We got 4 F-bombs inside the project, but it begins with faith, then fitness, then family. Family is the people closest to you. You build them up. You lead them as you should. You get the feedback from them. And the very last one is your finances. Finances are a result. They are the lagging measure that comes very last after you follow the formula: faith, fitness, family, finances. Beautiful. But faith, the downloads from the higher power, man, that's going to be your true north. That's going to be the voice you listen to when there's chaos and confusion. You don't know where to go. So many guys are looking and lost because they don't have this one relationship.
Agreed. And it's where we're all spiritual beings.
Yes.
And for so many of us, the spirit has been neglected and atrophied, so to speak, right? And to get that relationship with God, and again, starting from the inside out, and soul work. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I have for our thing is called the triple trifecta. I love that. And it's got the triple triangle like interlocking, like for men, but the first one is mind, body, and spirit. And those have to be addressed, and I think addressed daily.
Yes.
You do something to address your mind, you do something to address your body, you do something to address your spirit, and
100%.
you get that centered inside and out, man.
Yeah.
And hopefully, ideally, you can do that before anybody else wakes up, man.
Yep.
You can be ready and full so
100%.
that you have something to give.
100%, man.
Yeah.
I tell you, I fight for my morning routine every morning to have that few minutes dedicated devotion and solitude to get the downloads, set the intention for the day. Because the days that I don't, that's the days when I'm most subject to the ego, most subject to someone else's environment and someone else's idea of how I should show up. You got to get that time in the morning, that morning routine, first and foremost, game changer.
So true. Hey,
Mhm.
while we're on that, give us a couple more things that are working for you, man. Habits, patterns, routines, rituals. What are a couple things you got
Mm.
going on that just are working for you?
I think the biggest thing that's working for me in this season right now, man, is service. I can't think about anything else that is far more impactful. I'm finding that every time I hop on a call like this, a conversation like this, a coaching call, a group call, and I get to be of service to other people along the journey, that is the biggest shortcut to feeling good.
Yeah.
I'm almost like addicted to it because
Yeah.
it's the only time when I actually feel really good about me. And you know, you try to we try to feel good all the time. Like that is what we're pleasure seeking creatures as humans, and this is the area where I've been getting the most amount of fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so my days are pretty packed schedules with just trying to find an opportunity to find solace that's serving. And I tell all my clients too. It says, you know, whether or not you believe that you are a coach, whether or not you believe that you want to ever be in a space of mentoring or guiding someone else, you got to realize that everything you're suffering through right now, I'm going to provide you maybe an immediate solution to it, but your long-term solve to fix the fuck that you're in is to serve someone else on the journey. And
Yeah.
that's been that cool ripple effect, seeing the guys that I work with take the concepts, take the things that we're working on and deploy it into the world and come back like, oh my God, I feel so good. I had no idea this was possible. I want to get into this space. How do I do it? It's like, you just do it by being the lighthouse, being the example that this world needs.
Exactly. Be
Mhm.
it,
Be.
be the person that then is having this impact. And you're right. It's that 100%, man. That is one of the things that brings fulfillment and
Mm.
meaning and fills the
Fills
heart
the
and
space.
soul, man.
Yeah.
It feels so good to
Yeah.
have impact.
Yeah.
That's a
Craig,
kind of
let me,
one of,
can I throw a question to you?
yeah.
Yeah. What are you most excited about right now? Looking forward to?
Actually, I'm writing a book, man.
Oh, shit.
And every day I've been just geeking out about it. So that's our,
That's
and
rad.
again, the same kind of idea is like sharing our story, sharing the journey, sharing the things that worked, to take me from like being homeless at 16
Mm.
to like, this genuinely epic life we get to live with my wife and kids, and the work we do is and sharing the principles and practices that work. So
Mm.
that's one thing that's got me stoked. And then our family is doing this epic trip this winter. We asked our kids like, where do you want to spend Christmas? And they were like, Norway. We're
No
like,
way.
what? Like, where? It's cold and dark there at Christmas. They're like, yeah, we want to
Mhm.
go to Norway. So we're going to spend all of December in Norway. And then we're like, afterwards, my daughter, she's 15. She's always wanted to like hit a whole bunch of countries really fast. And we found train routes through 15 countries. And so after
Wow.
Christmas, we're just going to backpack and do trains with the whole family through all these countries and then end up land in Portugal. And
Wow.
so the
That
whole
is
family's just
awesome.
geeking out about that, like this
That
big
is,
adventure on the horizon.
yeah. And that is making memories,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Making memories. And you got 4 kids?
7, man.
Seven kids.
Yeah.
Holy cow. The whole pack, the whole clan
Yep.
is going.
Well, our one daughter, our oldest daughter's not. She decided to do a mission trip to the
Okay.
Dominican Republic, and so she's going
Awesome.
out, and then the others will go and create those memories, man. Gather experiences,
Wow. Wow. I love
all
that.
about the
That is
experiences.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Can I ask another question?
fire.
Okay, cool. So you got the whole clan going out there for the beginning of the year. What is the feeling that you want to feel when the trip is done and the dust settles and you're over the excitement and you're starting to settle? What is the feeling you want the family to feel?
Yeah, we so we've been traveling extensively for like I think 16 years now, and we go out with that same thing of like, what do we want to have
Uh-huh.
afterwards, right? And what's been so spectacular is you come away from it with a bond. It's like what you guys do with the project
Yeah.
and with father son, especially with father and son one, right? You go
Hmm.
and you have a big adventure, you face a challenge, you create a memory and
Hmm.
experience, and then you have a bond that's unique to you in that moment that you get
Hmm.
for the rest of your life. Like
Hmm.
I took my son and daughter, we went to Mongolia and we rode ponies across Mongolia.
Oh,
Like
it's so cool.
unforgettable. I took my other son and we went and we literally circled all of Iceland. I took my other son and he and I went hiked to the base camp of Everest. Right.
Wow.
And after that, and for years since, right, it's this bond we have, it's this
Yeah.
connection. And now with the whole family doing this, obviously the stimuli, right, from food and castles and experiences and cities and all this stuff and the
Hmm.
trains and the sights and the people we're going to meet, we're going to have this common bond,
Hmm.
and we'll have these memories and experiences that'll be ours to cherish forever.
Yeah.
And when you walk away just feeling connected, um well, that we're better. So that's kind of our philosophy. Like when we go somewhere, we want to come away better because of it, and we want to leave the
Mm.
place and the people better because we've
Mm.
been there, right? And so you step away from, if you do it right, man, you step away from those experiences, and everything and everyone's better because of it.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
That's
awesome.
that's a life lived with intention.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so rewarding, right?
Uh-huh.
So rewarding,
Uh-huh.
so fun.
I love
Um,
that.
I wanted to just ask because I have a feeling there's going to be some wisdom here, man. What are some lessons you've learned from failures or mistakes?
Mm.
When you started off saying like when you had your gym in Scottsdale,
Mm.
learn what not to do, and maybe you can talk about that or whatever else. But what comes to mind is like mistakes or failures along the way that you're like, man, that was a really valuable lesson learned.
Hmm. They're not permanent, even though they feel permanent. I think we often will feel a failure coming on, or we maybe are in the middle of a failure or a season of failure. Maybe we make a mistake. This P.A.M guy, he wants to keep you stuck in that failure loop. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. This is who you are. You're never going to make it. You see, you proved it right. That's that toxic thought that keeps us
Yeah.
stuck in the failure and the mistake. And as I've gotten a little more maturity, is realizing it's not permanent. It's not permanent. The only thing that is permanent is the feeling that I choose to associate with it.
Yes.
And
The
the
meaning we give
meaning,
it.
yeah,
Yeah.
the meaning. And so the reframing, the self-talk, being aware of the triggers and where the trauma comes up, and being able to have healthy dialogue with other people that have been there,
Yeah.
and closing the loop on that as quickly as possible. The longer I spend time in my negative thought patterns, the higher likelihood that I'm going to do something toxic, self-sabotage or lose my temper or want to go to a vice or something like that. And so first identifying it's not permanent, and then trying to find support, that community, which for the longest time, because I didn't trust men, because of the abuse and trauma that I went through, I didn't also trust myself. I didn't want to tell anybody about my mistakes and my failures. And so I kept it all private. And so we talk about this white knuckling, just white knuckling it, trying to make it through. And then the failures would mount because no one's meant to walk this path alone. And the frustration, the irritation, the rage, all that grew and continued and would continue to grow. And so, not permanent, find people to talk to about, and then to realize that the more failures you face directly with intention, the faster you actually get to success.
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest thing. When I think about how much the stories I built around what would happen in the worst case if I was going to step on stage and try to deliver a comedy bit, and if I would have froze, like how horrible it would have been, the embarrassment, all this stuff, and like the worst case, right? And I've been there one time before. Side story: I was extra in Transformers 2, and this was God, maybe 15 years ago. This movie came out, and my girlfriend at the time, she wanted to be an actress, and so she found this casting call, and so she's in line, and we went out for this casting call. She's in line, she's in actually doing the casting call, and I was in line holding her purse. Local news channel comes up, sweeps the crowd, and stops on me and says, "Do you know what movie you guys are um, you know applying for?" And I said, "No, I have no idea, but I think it's Snakes on a Plane too." And I said it with just a little bit of humor. And if you saw Snakes on a Plane 1, there definitely is not Snakes on a Plane 2. It was one of the worst movies of all time. Snakes on a Plane makes no sense. And I said it with humor and like, oh my God, you're a natural. I thought it was really funny. The casting director saw that, reached out through the news channel, through my girlfriend, found me and said, hey, listen, we've got this part. We'd love for someone local to deliver this. Would you be interested in being an extra in a movie? And they're going to have 2 lines you have to share. I was like, absolutely. And they're like, all you got to do is show up on camera, that same energy and enthusiasm we had on the news bit, and you're going to be great. I'm like, awesome, I can do that. And not telling me what movie or who the co-star was that was going to be in it. And so I show up and like, you're going to be a ticket agent for Southwest Airlines. They put me in the Southwest Airlines garb and says, you have 2 lines to share. Ma'am, please calm down. And ma'am, have your bags remain in your possession the whole time. That's all you have to say. I'm like, done. I got it. Practice in the mirror. All is good. And like, by the way, you're going to be delivering these lines to Megan Fox. And I was like, fuck.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, awesome also, and terrifying. And so they get me out there and I'm standing at the ticket counter and I'm practicing the line. And then she comes up, she's like 25 feet away. And she's got a little gaggle of people around her, and I start panicking. Palms start sweating, heart starts racing, and I freeze up. They got the lights on me. They're like, all right, can you say the lines? I literally could not speak.
No way.
I couldn't speak. I completely froze, man.
Oh,
and I was like, in the moment, my entire life flashed before my eyes. And if you ever had a full like nervous system shut down, like palms are just dripping, heart is going like 160 beats per minute. And I could not talk. And so they literally moved me off stage. They've probably seen this a lot in Hollywood. Someone else does a line. I'm standing in the very back for the scene. You can see like the edge of my shoe. And since then, I had the hardest time talking on camera, talking to people, because I'm like, that feeling kept coming up. That trauma kept coming up. And that's like the worst thing that you could possibly happen at the end of the day. It didn't kill me. That was a failure, you could say, but that failure also taught me that I can overcome my failures, or I can listen to my failures. And so stepping on stage a few weeks ago, and that same feeling comes up. I'm behind stage. I'm waiting for them to call my name. And my heart rate's, I got a little heart tracker. It's up 140 beats per minute as I'm just standing there. I'm like, oh my God, this is not going to happen again.
Wow.
Yeah. Self-talk and breathing. I went out there and I crushed it. And yeah, so failures, they're not permanent. But they are necessary to be able to reach the next level of success, because no one's given greatness just on a silver platter.
Yep. And man, one of the things I really want to reemphasize that you said is, the sooner you can get back up, recover from the failure, get out of a toxic negative state where you're more likely to self-sabotage. So yeah, fail faster, but get up. And learn from your mistake and hit it again. That's so critical.
Absolutely.
I love it. Aaron, so awesome, brother. So awesome. Lots of nuggets here, man. Any last thoughts for men before we wrap up? Anything else you want to share that's just been valuable?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would love to share with anyone listens to this is that, and I think you might agree with this, Greg, there's nothing special about me or you. The only thing that makes us special is that we're getting out there and doing it. And so if this conversation inspired them in any way, take action, stop being passive, go do something, set a vision for your life so that you can have the kind of memories that you're creating, taking the whole family to Norway and traveling and doing this amazing stuff. Like, that's what life's about. We're meant to live an abundant, prosperous, beautiful, fulfilled life, but it doesn't happen by accident. So be inspired by this conversation, but then take action.
Exactly. Break away from that passivity, man. So powerful, brother. That's so awesome. How can people connect with you, man?
And I appreciate that. Website, ErinAlejandrino.com. And I got a podcast as well, which I'd love to have you on as a guest. We can continue this conversation.
Fantastic. Yes.
Yeah. And then Instagram, the Fit Beard.
Perfect. Okay. I'll put links to that in the shows, man.
Okay,
brother. Thank you so much for being here, man. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for being willing to be open and share your story and your journey, your failure, the things that you're learning that are working for you. It's powerful to hear that and see the story and see the example of what you're doing, because then we all just stop and be like, look, man, we can do this.
Hell yeah,
we can do this.
Yeah, and we need more people doing it.
Yeah. Thanks, brother.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man.